Aggression by Joseph R. Jones. What is aggression? Aggression is simply defined as behavior intended to harm another individual. There are two types of aggression: proactive aggression and reactive aggression. Proactive aggression is aggressive behavior where harm is inflicted as a means to a desired end. An example of proactive aggression is robbery. The second type of aggression is reactive aggression. Reactive aggression is aggressive behavior where the means and the ends coincide. Harm is inflicted for its own sake. For its own sake. An example of reactive aggression is retaliation. Gender differences and aggression. Men are much more likely to engage in physical aggression. Men and women are equally likely to engage in verbal aggression. Men often view aggressive acts as an exercise in self-control over others brought on by a challenge to their self-esteem or integrity. Women view their aggression as often coming from excessive stress and a loss of self-control. Bullying around the world. One form of aggression that is prevalent across virtually all cultures is bullying. Children and adolescents around the world are physically, sexually, or emotionally bullied by their peers. Bullying in the classroom and involving a large group bullying a single threat may be more characteristic of East Asian than Western countries. Whereas bullying in the playground and involving students who don't know each other well may be more typical in Western cultures. Genes, hormones, and the brain. Many studies have shown that aggression can be linked to genetics. There is evidence that testosterone levels are higher in individuals with aggressive behavior, such as prisoners who have committed violent crimes. The brain chemical serotonin has been known to play an important role in regulating their anger and aggression. What is symbolic interactionism? Symbolic interactionism is a school of thought in sociology that explains social behavior in terms of how people interact with each other through symbols. In this view, social structures are best understood in terms of such individual interactions. Mead believes that one's self develops through social interactions. Core assumptions of symbolic interactionism. The core assumptions of symbolic interactionism are: the first premise is that human beings act toward things on the basis of the meanings that the things have for them. The second premise is that the meaning of such things is derived from or arises out of the social interaction one has with fellows. The third premise is that these meanings are handled and modified through an interpretive process used by the person in dealing with the things he encounters. The three basic assumptions that people act on the basis of meanings they assign meanings arise from social interaction, and meanings are modified through interpretation by the person. Accurately describing the core of symbolic interactionism. Aggression is becoming more acceptable in today's political discourse. Can it be stopped, or is it too late? Leo Tolstoy once wrote that politics is violence. It is the use of power to make rules that allow rulers to punish you for acts where you have done no harm to person or property, where there is no claim. Nowhere passive aggressive behavior is more prominent than the so-called civil political arena, where direct personal attacks are still considered unstatesmanlike, but covert low blows spread defamatory messages under the veneer of social appropriateness. There is hope it can be stopped. There are several ways. Politicians must learn how not to be hostile, which means accepting the unchangeable. Getting control of anger producing beliefs and thoughts is also a good way to tame aggression. Whenever possible, politicians must assume the best intentions. Politicians must decide if fairness or justice is a underlying issue. In our culture, aggressive behavior is on the rise. What does the Bible say about it? How can we as Christians guard ourselves against it? Ephesians 4:31, verse 31 through 32. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other, just as God in Christ has also forgiven you. Set boundaries. You will need boundaries to prevent the passive-aggressive person from wreaking havoc in your life. Give time limits for what you need and have a backup plan if the person doesn't follow through. Adjust expectations so you won't be so dependent on the person acting differently. State your decisions and stick to them. Finally, decide how much you will tolerate before giving an ultimatum or ending the relationship. The second way is resist lies. Encourage truth when the passive-aggressive person risks talking about feelings, issues, problems, and concerns. Be careful not to be defensive. Instead, encourage the truth and listen intently. You don't have to agree with what is being said, but you need to make it a safe experience for the passive-aggressive person who fears being vulnerable and is taking a huge risk in speaking the truth.